Walk with me, walk with me, walk with me. Let's walk the talk.
Welcome back. Bishop Gigi, we understand we're in a situation whereby most people are working under pressure. Some are even, they have gotten their termination letters. And I understand the emotions are already affected in this particular, such kind of a time. How can we now manage the situation?
Yeah, I think we are living in a very fast world with great expectation and with the crisis all over. You'll find that from workplace, there's so much to be done. Deadlines are there. At home, there are bills to be paid.
The
targets are there. The attention of everyone. Your spouse wants your attention. The community wants your attention. The children want your attention. You have to catch up with so many things around you. And therefore, it's true at that particular time, we are about to have high energy levels being exhibited to us. And when we create that high energy levels within our body, they are expressed in terms of emotion. So if they are unpleasant to us, and if we are not able to manage the expectation, I say they resort into things like anger. They can resort into things like regret. They can resort to things like you being sad. And therefore, those negative or unpleasant emotions, therefore, one, they are dangerous for you because they affect even the health of the body. Most of the sicknesses that we have are emanating from emotional imbalance. Two, they affect the social fabric, the way people associate with each other and the way they interact. Because I want to tell you that emotional intelligence is a social capital. It is something that you can be able to use to your advantage. Even for great leaders, you'll find that they have what we call the charisma, because charisma is still an emotion. They are able to learn the feeling. So even when they speak to people, they seem to be echoing their feeling. And therefore, they seem to be carrying their aspiration and their feeling. And these people want to rally behind such people. So it's actually your social capital. So how you're able to manage, therefore, is that you need to evaluate your own emotions. And this one you can evaluate by looking at the reactions of the people that you address. If you're a boss in a company, for example, and every time you call for a meeting, you talk and tell people to speak, and you find that no one is speaking back, no one can raise up their hand to contribute, it is telling you something. It is good feedback for you that either you are too harsh, you are unapproachable, there's a way you are expressing. If, for example, you find somebody passes by and people keep quiet, it's because there's a signal that you're already throwing to them. And they are giving you the feedback.
So
that
it's
as
not,
long as you're
it's
here,
not a respect
you are not you're not admitted here. And therefore, we are able to learn from the reaction of others. You can be able to feel a flow of conversation with the people that are around you.
Talk of charisma, and especially when it comes to the temperament of the sanguines, where they can just enter into a meeting and they take over. But now you find this individual, because of the working condition, maybe he's working under certain pressure. Now the charisma goes down. My question is, can this affect even the relationship between husband and wife? Now when it comes to not only emotions that are the IQ part, but when even it comes to the issues to do with the feelings.
Yeah, it will affect basically, and families are actually one of the grounds that suffer. Emotional, whether there's stress from work, finally they are taken back home. And when they are taken back home, what do we see? A lot of domestic violence, we see a lot of divorces, we see a lot of families separating, we see disjointed family union, simply because they became the recipient of the emotional backlog that is carried elsewhere. And maybe you talked about charisma going down.
Yes.
Charisma may not really go down, simply because charisma is that emotional expression of somebody who knows they have the charisma.
But not to a case whereby I'm working under certain pressure, and I'm known even in my working place that I'm the one who makes kind of, brings humor. But now someone wants to suppress me in one way or another. Will not my charisma now be pressed?
Yeah, it can only be pressed if you don't understand yourself. And that's why you're saying emotional intelligence is being able to manage yourself. Being able to manage it in the sense that you'll find that there will be negative cues, things that will trigger you to annoy you, but you have to choose how to react. In fact, what happens to you is not important, but how you respond to what happens to you is what is critical. Great men have been defined by difficult moments. That something came, people talked about you, there was rumor around you. You could have reacted in a way. You could have shouted, you could have abused, you could have expressed in anger, but sometimes you chose to keep quiet. And what happened finally? People think, now this is a good person, because they were able to manage. So those things that happen around you and will always continue to happen is not an issue. Being able now to manage them so that you don't react to them in a negative way is what is critical for you. So in that charisma case of somebody who is in the workplace, then what they are supposed to do is to look for that one thing that will make them express the positive emotion. And that way it is able to balance. Because you cannot cry and laugh at the same time.
Definitely.
You cannot, you cannot be sad and
be happy at the same time.
But whether you're going to be happy or sad, it depends on what you want to react to. So I can hear there is a rumor around me that is going on, and I can choose to laugh about it, and even to make fun out of it, and therefore be able to bring joy out of it rather than take sadness.
And how am I now how can I now be in a position to understand your emotions? Because I understand emotional intelligence is all about even understanding the other person's emotions. And maybe I'm not the one who is taking, you should understand me, and especially in family setup, you must understand me.
Yes, true.
I want you to understand me, but I don't want me to understand you. How will I be in a position now to understand? You're also human being, still have emotions.
That's true.
Maybe you're angry because you had so many unmet expectations. How will I now be in a position to understand your emotions before you become wild?
Yeah, we are saying that emotions are expressed. And therefore, we may not see the emotions, but we see the expression of the emotion. How do you know somebody is angry? You might find that they are becoming even agitated. They are not even able to settle. So depending on who they are, you may find a facial expression. You can see the eyes change. You can see maybe the language is speaking very fast. You can see the breathing system has already changed. So you're able to see from the expression that this somebody is angry. But now you may not be able to control their emotion, but you can control your emotion to help them control their emotion. This way, if you are very annoyed, and maybe it's your spouse and very annoyed, then at that point is a time that you don't respond in equal measure to show that you are annoyed. Because if you did so, then it becomes even violent. But somebody speaks to you with a loud voice and you see they are annoyed, you speak calmly. So what happens, you're bringing them down to a meeting point. And they bring you to a point where you can now be able to have a conversation. Somebody you find that is so annoyed, somebody who is going through maybe a difficult mental activity, then what do? You calm. So because when you provide that calm, then they'll not be able to react to that. Because there are people who are even expressing that anger, waiting for an equal expression of the same anger so that they can react. So you, as much as you may not tell them what to do, you can do what you're supposed to do so that you bring them down.
Now, that is a case of somebody who is expressing anger either through shaking the body. What about a case of someone who has the mentality of nikikasirika napenda kunyamaza?
And basically, I say like in marriage, and those things happen, then again, over time, you have learned that when my spouse is annoyed, they don't talk. So you see, you have learned. So even that keeping quiet is an expression of the emotion. So they're expressing, you know that now he's not talking. So you know that person is, because maybe you have a past experience. So what happens to you? So you may do things, you may provide an environment that will trigger a conversation. So because if you decide now maybe also to get quiet like him or like her, then what happens? Then you might end up never talking to each other. But you may even talk to him without expecting him to respond to you because you know he is already quiet. So you can tell him, my husband, my wife, I don't know what has happened, but I'm sorry if there's something happened. And you know that they're not going to respond to you because they are quiet. But you may not do it so many times until they are able to respond. So, but if you keep quiet and you withdraw, then you worsen the situation. And therefore, having emotional intelligence is therefore being able to interpret those feelings and being able to manage so that you break the emotion that could lead to a negative outcome.
So here now communication comes in. Whoever is not affected is the one who is supposed to start communication, as I understand so. Now, what are the steps towards managing the emotions?
So one is that it's good to admit that all of us are emotional people. And therefore, you should be able to understand.
Do people really admit that they are too emotional?
They must admit.
Yeah.
The basis of managing it is admission. That when I'm tired, I'm annoyed, I know I can do this. So you admit that. You have to be honest with your emotional levels and the energy that you exhibit. So that is the first thing. And you see, you can never lie to yourself. You may not tell people that I am like this, but everybody knows their levels to which they can go. They know what they feel when they are annoyed. In fact, there are people who even get annoyed because of others. I find people fighting and it's like, if I was the one there, I was in that way, I would be able to fight. You know, they become agitated. So basically, admit. Number two, learn the cues from the environment. Learn about the feelings of others. So you don't have to express the feelings so that you see somebody who was in anger, what they did, somebody who was resentful, what they did, someone who had regrets, what they did, and therefore learn from those other situations that are happening external to yourself so that you can become better. And number three is that I've told you is that even like in the case of relationships, don't respond an emotion with an equal level of emotion. Actually respond with an opposite of it. If somebody is annoyed, don't be equally annoyed like him. So just calm down, because that's how you bring yourself to a point of rapport so that you can be able to come and start discussing together.
But when it comes to learning the feeling, it takes an IQ now here. Here now comes the IQ. For me to be in a position to learn your feelings, because you might be looking at me and I'm thinking we are together, but honestly, it's like two parallel lines that do not meet. So for me to learn your feelings, then I should have a very nice IQ.
Not really, because I told you IQ is knowledge, acquired knowledge.
Definitely,
from learning.
That you learn.
Emotional intelligence is more, as you almost said, like genetic, but enhanced more by the environment and experience that you go through. That's why we find that there are people who are never even learned, who never really went to school. But those people have become even great people. Or that they know that they have now known how to relate with other people. And how do you relate? You relate with people because you understand them and you understand their emotion. You can speak their language. In fact, there are 4 or 5 things, if I may mention them quickly, that we need to know. One is what we call self-awareness. You must be able to create awareness around yourself. Number 2 is called self-management, being able to manage your emotions the way we have already talked about. Number 3 is what we call as empathy. Empathy is being able to put yourself in the shoes of others, so that whatever they are going through is like you feel is the same thing you're going through. And you ask yourself, if I was in their shoe, what would have happened? And therefore, there are things that you may not be able to do because you cannot. And number 4 is social interaction. You should be able to look at people around you, how you're interacting, and the feedback they are giving to you. And therefore, finally, number 5, you do what we call social management. How do you manage the social interactions to your advantage?
What is your parting shot?
So I think I'm saying that it's good that we know that emotional intelligence is a social capital. It is the one that will open doors for you. It will be able to make you great leader. It will be able to open business for you. People will trust you more if they feel you have empathy, you can have their feeling, and they also know that they understand your feeling. So it's good to have an emotional balance so that you are not erratic, that people don't understand you. So be predictable in terms of your emotions.
Be predictable in terms of your emotions and admit that you are also emotional. And that is the end of our topic today. Until next week, bye.
Walk with me. Walk with me. Walk with me.